That's really it. You take it's almost like the emotions. Hey man, you guys go get water. You emotions, go get water for a second. Let's go see what actually happened. Changeup was down. Fastball was going arm side. Not didn't know where my fastball was going. Didn't know where my changeup was going. I suck. I don't know what to do. All I have is this. I'm screwed. It's like that happens, dude, and it's funny. And if we could laugh at that, sometimes the laughter is what shakes us out to be like, oh, where was the fastball missing? Arm side, cool. Yeah. Where was the changeup missing? Oh, I was pushing it. It was down. I don't know. And then you start getting your own clear answers.
And that was one of my biggest downfalls was like, when everything was going great, it was awesome. I threw 100 and it was like, wow, I'm the man. And then like when stuff started going bad, I would perceive things and process things in the wrong way. I would be like, dang, I suck. I got to change everything. Whenever, I started talking to Frank, I started to become aware that it was just a part of the process of becoming the best player that I was going to be capable of. Players, be like water. Learn how to navigate and manage your emotions that you receive from the game. You can't have one without the other. Keep your eyes on the prize, but also stay in the moment. Take the good and the bad for what it is and continue to just improve as a person in general.
Fronts, 1-2 on the way.
All right.
I like it, Kivel. Aggressivo.
Say what you want. Say what you want. Give the people what they want to see.
Give the people what they want. Come on now.
I love you guys. Dang.
Love you too.
All right. You guys ready? All right. All right. We're starting in 3, 2, 1.
It's not funny. What's so funny?
Oh,
I need both y'all to grow up.
Yeah.
Reasonable request.
I'm just going to have to mute my mic every time I'm just laughing the whole time.
Dude.
All right.
Don't be you.
Don't do that. Yep. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Kova Sports Brick by Brick podcast. I'm your host, Tejay Antone, pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds and also a partner at Kova Sports. Today, we'll also be with Jeremy Kivel, partner at Kova Sports, played for the Reds for a long, long time. And
forever.
Man, yeah, forever. Jeez. And today, our special guest is a longtime friend. Been with the Reds, was with me and Kivel for a very long time. Frank Pfister, last name spelled with a P, not an A, not an F.
Well, a P and an F, if I
P and an F.
Yeah.
You're right.
Because that gets a little tricky.
Frank Pfister, guys, is going to dive in to the mental side of the game. He brings just a really great insight to the game of baseball. He's helped me tremendously in my journey to the big leagues. He helped Kivel tremendously. I mean, there's just countless dudes along the road that has just had so much help from Frank Pfister. And we've had a lot of requests about the mental side of the game and just like some approaches that we can take and just how to be better. Like the game is game of baseball, not only just baseball, like a lot of sports are very, they're very demanding on the mental. So you need to be strong. You need to have a game plan when you're going into that. You can't just, willy-nilly hope for the best. You got to have a game plan when you're going at this stuff. So, and also like what to do when you hit adversity. Everyone's going to hit adversity at some point in the game and just how to respond to it. We'll try and give you guys some tips and tricks and just, hear what Frank has to say on this because he is very smart on this. So Frank, lead us off just for a second. Tell us where you're from. Tell us just a little bit about your background, and then we'll go into some questions for you.
Yeah, thanks for that. My name is Franklin Pfister. Hi. I am from Los Angeles, California, and I ended up going to college at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and then after that time, got drafted by the Reds and played with the Reds for about 5 years and then got released. Played a couple more years in an independent league team in Schaumburg, Illinois. Good times. And go Boomers. And and then came back with the Reds and did a little video intern stuff, did a little wild card, got out of my lane a bunch and hung out with you guys for a while. And then that led into doing a little bit more coaching with a focus on the mental side of stuff.
Yeah. So Frank, when we
I'd like to pause real quick. That was like the cleanest, quickest summary that I think I've ever done in my life. Thanks for bringing it out of me.
Perfect.
I wouldn't have shocked me if I talked for 25 minutes about that one. So I'm glad that.
No, that was perfect. I think you hit every single thing and just was so smooth.
Nice.
So that's where we met up with Frank, Kivel and I. Kivel and I played for the 2014 champions, Billings Mustangs. Frank was at that time. That was I think your first job in professional baseball. You started as a video intern, like you said. But it was really interesting for pitchers because we did the pitching chart up in the stands every day, and I got to sit next to Frank while he was doing his video thing, and it was just really cool to start to like pick his brain and think about things. And I think that's kind of why you got the mental skills job with the Reds, is because like all of us just were really using you as that. You started as the video guy, but you were crushing the mental skills side of things. And they were like, wow, like this guy has another skill that, we didn't realize it was helping guys so much. And you helped me tremendously. It was just crazy the first couple of years. Professional baseball is tough. It's not easy at all, especially when you come out of college. It's just very different. So Kiv, let's hear some of these questions you got for old Frank here.
Yeah, I got some good questions for Frank, but I first wanted to touch on kind of my experience with Frank personally and how he helped me. So, like Tejay just said, the game of baseball is very challenging in all aspects, from a skill aspect to a mental approach to just, the day-to-day grind of the game. And you can be like an amazing player and have all these skills, but if you don't know what to do whenever bumps come in, in the road, you don't have those processes and those strategies to kind of counteract those things, you're gonna struggle, especially in professional baseball, because you're playing every single day. And that was one of my biggest downfalls, was like, when everything was going great, it was awesome. I threw 100 and it was like, wow, I'm the man. And then like when stuff started going bad, I would perceive things and process things in the wrong way. I would be like, dang, I suck. I got to change everything. Whenever, I started talking to Frank, I started to become aware that it was just a part of the process of becoming the best player that I was going to be capable of. You're going to have bad games, you're going to have good games, but whenever you can take the bad games, and Frank used to refer them as like the bad things sometimes as like knocks. It's like, that's a good thing. Like, it's a part of the process, and getting process oriented for the end goal of becoming the best player you can be. That's how Frank really helped me. And a lot of that stuff, transitions over into life as well. But it's really, I think, finding out how to become process oriented as a player and as a human is the thing that Frank helps with. And it's different for everybody, but I think the biggest thing is the process orientation to perceiving, how you're trying to become a baseball player, a good human, or whatever it is, whatever your pursuits are. So I want to have Frank kind of expand on some of this stuff, so the players that we work with and anyone else that's watching this podcast can start to implement some of this stuff, because we won a championship in Billings, and like, yeah, it's rookie ball. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter, but like, it's hard to win in professional baseball. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Like, it's hard to win championship baseball. It is. So Frank helped us big time, and I want to spread that to other people. That's the main thing. So I'm going to start off with my first question, and then I want Frank to just do what Frank does here and help people out. So
watch out.
All right.
Wait, can I just throw something at a couple of those things that you guys said?
Yeah, throw away.
Sorry, I'll try to keep it quick, as concise as my baller intro. Thanks for that. And for recognizing like my part in that whole thing. But one of the coolest things, and I think it'll show up as I try to answer these questions, is that like whatever you two think came, was me with you. Most of it, if not all of it, was me just like watching what you were doing and being amazed, and then trying to let you know what was amazing. And like, I know it sounds odd, and I'm not trying, sometimes it can get misunderstood as like a humility. I'm not saying it to be humble. I am the greatest. Just kidding. But the reason it's important to me is because you talk about process, the process oriented kind of ideas and navigating stuff when things go bad. Kivel's way is going to be different than Tejay's way, is going to be different than my way, is going to be different than any books you read, is going to be different than anybody you hear. But then the cool thing is that we all go through them. And so that's just something I wanted to say, was like, You say I've helped you guys in different ways, and I appreciate that. But what I really wanted to point out is that like that was a reciprocal help, and getting to be around you guys as I was video interning my first year, being done playing in a spot I had already played. There was a lot of stuff that it was hard for me too, and I just wanted to say thank you for being here, and then also a big thank you to you guys and really everybody on that team and who had anything to do with that team, because that's a very reciprocal thing. And I think recognizing your parts in that, and that partial responsibility is going to be something that is going to come up, I think. And I just wanted to kind of point that out with all the nice things that you both said.
Dude, I want to touch on that before we start. One more thing, because I was just in Phoenix at the facility, and I was there for 8 years, and I hadn't been there in a little under 4 years. So that's like a good break, right? And then I go back and I see players doing their thing, and I'm like I just wanted to talk to them, kind of like what you did, Frank. And I kind of got a better perspective on like where you were at. It's almost like you have your life in baseball and then you die and you're not playing baseball anymore. So your baseball life is dead. It's just like if you die in real life, it's like if you could go back and do things or think about things in a certain way, like, oh, that wasn't important, or like this was important. It's like whenever I was there with the players, especially the rehab guys, I could just I could see like the anxiety and then like the stuff they were probably worried about. And like I just wanted to try to talk to as many players as I could and be like, look, this is what matters. Like, enjoy your process, enjoy everything that you got going on. But if you really want to make it to where you can make it, whatever your potential is, just get better at the things you suck at, and then enjoy the process. Like that was my message to the guys after having not being in the game for 4 years. It was like, and I was just laughing about it, and I was like, wow, I know what this guy's thinking. Like, I know what he's stressed out about. Like, so it was a moment for me to appreciate kind of like where you were at, Frank, at that point in time with us, and how you were like, dude, it doesn't matter. Stop freaking out about that. It's like, just get better every day, enjoy the guys you're around, and have fun really is the main thing. All right, let's go ahead and go into the questions now. All right, so this is going to be for really some application for the players that watch this podcast, and parents as well, to help their kids. What are some common trends in players' thought processes or like perceptions that negatively affect them as far as performance goes and just like their game?
Yeah. Okay.
Common stuff that you see from player to player,
Yeah. I mean, and help me out, guys. As I go, but
so say like you got a stud guy who's like he's just a stud. He can swing it, and he's like 4 for 4, and then like, wow, this guy can play in the big leagues, right? This guy can play on varsity. This guy can be our guy in our Division I lineup. But like he goes 4 for 4, and then he goes 0 for 16, and it's not because he's not good. It's because of what's going on in here. So what are some common things that you see like with that example?
Yeah. So something that just popped into my mind as you were bringing that up is, I think a lot of times when we're messing around with the mental side of the game, a game, right? A game has some rules, and the game's got an objective, which a lot of times, especially in sports, is there's a win and loss component, right? And the win and loss component, the good, the bad, the hit, the out, the putting up a 0 inning or giving up some runs. One of the things that I think kind of is a pivotal part of where we get into the negative is it's not just the failures. It's actually a lot of times it's navigating the successes too. And I think, so you talk about like trends in a player's thought process. It's not just the doubt that comes along with the obstacles, with the speed bumps, with the injuries, the failures, all that. There's a weird part of me thinks that, especially if we're going to be drawn to the game of baseball, if that's actually an inner choice that's from us to choose to play, not someone else imposing it, us to choose to play that game. And we've done it through some struggles. We're probably weirdly, I don't know about this stuff, but like we're probably wired to be all right navigating some punches in the gut. Like we actually weirdly, I think, especially like us three, I think you'd agree, but feel free to tell me to go kick rocks. In a weird way, the failures kind of drive us, and we kind of like them, whether we want to admit it or not. It's like you get punched in the gut. It's like, I got something to do now. Thanks. Like that's where I'm driven. You give me something I can't do, and I'm going to be like, I'm going to find my way. It's not going to be the way you think I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find my way to be like, all right, now I can go to work. So it's actually, I think, weirdly enough, navigating successes. And that is a trend in a player's thought process that can negatively affect them, how we handle our successes. Because I think a lot of times, to go back to what you were saying about being process oriented, we want the homer, we want the hit, we want the win. We want the low ERA, the high velocity. I mean, and the things that we want are just, it's like we're learning more and more things that we want. And then we get them. And then what? Like, you guys got drafted. I got drafted. There was a time when I thought all I wanted was to play baseball without school and just to get to play and then get paid to play. Like, what? It took a day for that to get tired for me. A day. I remember the first day where I started wondering why I was in this league, wondering why I was this part of the lineup. It sneaks up with you. And so to try to, there's something very difficult and I think underappreciated about how hard it can be to get what you think you wanted and to navigate that gracefully. Mm-hmm. And eventually, after you've gotten that punch in the gut enough times, and with a few of the failures, and you see a little bit of what you've gained from some failures or from some unfair circumstances, you know, like the whole range of things, an injury, like all of that stuff. When you get a little bit of value from that, and then you can map that over handling the successes too, and find some kind of way about how you want to handle whatever comes. If I know, and that's going to be different, my way of navigating this with this, that's the whole trip around the cycle of the win, the decay. You talked about the death process, man. The birth, the growth, the decay, the death, the birth, the growth, the decay, the death. And it's like one good trip around that cycle, whether it's in a pitch, an inning, a game, a season, a career, one graceful trip, one humble trip. I don't know, a kind trip. Yeah. Like there are ways, whatever is aggressive. There are different ways that we're all going to find our way to tap in. But I think the way to get out of that is to be aware of what way you want to handle all of it, because it's all coming and it's all difficult.
Yeah. I think you had a good point there, because like I remember I feel like when the guys like really, they have some adversity and they just really sulk in their adversity, their lows are super low and then their highs are very high. I'm the man. I'm the MVP. I'm the best. I'm the worst. I just went over 4. I'm never going to make it. And that like self-talk within that on both ends of that, good and bad, is for me. And like you said, for every player, it's different, but for me, it's not good. I have to talk myself down when I do really well and talk myself up when I do really bad. And I remember in like a few years later, after that in Daytona, I had won like 8 games in a row. And I remember like thinking to myself after probably like the 4th win, I was like, I need to just do the same thing every week, whether I win or lose. I'm just going to stick to my routine and I'm just going to do it to the best of my ability. And whatever happens, happens, because like, I can't really control everything. I can't control my boy, hitting a home run and giving us a lead, and me, I can only control what I can control. And that's throwing this pitch where I want it, or executing the pitch with intent in the area that I want to throw it. And when you boil it down to that process orientation, like you were saying, Kivel, and then when you do get the result, bad or good, you kind of, okay, what can I do better? Okay, what did I do really good? And just keep it simple.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why Tejay Antone is a big leaguer. All right, keep going.
Exactly. But
nice.
Another really good thing I wanted to add is for every single outing, whether you go throw a perfect game or you just get stuffed in, like, I mean, just put into the locker and done for. I think every single outing, you can take one good thing and one bad thing. And if you can boil it down to one good thing and one bad thing and just like go forward into your next day, like say your next day, like say I just threw 7 innings, one good thing, one bad thing. Okay. Hey, maybe I threw a lot of first pitch strikes. Awesome. That's great. Maybe I hung a couple sliders and I didn't want to. Okay. Well, guess what? I have a focus going into that next week. I'm going to work on my slider. I'm going to work on not hanging my slider. I'm going to stay focused as well on executing first pitch strikes. Boiling it down to one thing instead of like, oh, I suck. I walked 10 guys and I'm just this terrible human, and like making it like a moral thing. Like I'm going to end right there because I could probably talk for another 45 minutes about
It's
how
good stuff.
you are not your results. Like you yourself are not your results, but I'm gonna leave that to you because this is your job.
I think
No,
Frank said that
beautiful.
like super elegantly, but I think I'm gonna make it more like guerrilla, like simple. Basically, you have an end goal, which is to be the best baseball player you can be, or play as long as you can, whatever it is, right? Frank was saying you're gonna have success and you're gonna have failure. You have success and failure. Those don't matter at all. And the more that they do matter, the more that you make them matter, the worse you are. Keep your eyes set on the end goal and take the good for the good and the bad for the bad. Kind of like what Tejay just said as well. But just to make that simple, it's like keep your eyes on the prize. It's like you're going to do good and you're going to do bad no matter who you are. So just keep going. If you suck, get better. If you're doing good, get better and have fun. That's about as simple as I can put it. But Frank, go ahead.
No, it's good to know. I mean, it's the quickest podcast ever. I think we're done, right?
No.
No shot.
We're not done.
No, but
I
like,
need you for another 30 minutes.
No, but this is like that. I'm definitely teasing, but there's real truth to that because there's like, because that's it. I mean, like one of the hardest things that I've noticed about the game of baseball, they talk about it being a game of adjustments. It's also like a game of remembering. Because you can get enamored with the adjustments and then you're off your game plan and then you're off your process and then you can get lost in the brand newness of each moment, right? And so when you get something simple like what Jeremy just said, or something like simple, not easy, simple, what Jeremy was saying and what Tejay was saying in their different ways, to repeat simple, or not even to repeat it, to almost like rediscover whatever that idea was for Jeremy. To rediscover that, or for Tejay to rediscover these little foundational ideas that hit for us as individuals, or that we've noticed in our friends or how we viewed it, to be able to rediscover them playfully and to really like enjoy that process of rediscovering it. I'd say even that mapping that over what Jeremy was saying of like eyes on the prize, keep going. Eyes on the prize, be aware that prize might shift too. And if the prize is peace of mind and a powerfully enjoyable and like a full relationship with the game that you're playing, with the craft that you're putting your life into. If the end goal, I want to be a big leaguer, but if the end goal is peace of mind, whether I get there or not, and then flowing back to I want to be that, it becomes a little bit different and you're a little more in control of your ups and downs, I think. And you're a little bit more, again, I think that frees your mind up to then find the one good, the one bad thing after. And to like, what I loved about that, Tejay, is like, you had the one bad thing, that's for us to work on. You have the one good thing, that's for us to kind of continue. And that's basically saying the same thing that I was trying to say there in a different way, is like, we're always working on something. We're always trying to continue something. And how are those going to interplay? And that was one thing I thought of, Tejay, when you were saying that, is like, one good thing, one bad thing. What could we add? One neutral thing that has nothing to do with your craft, that was something you noticed, a song you liked, a nice sunshine, a warmth of the sun, like something that is outside, like something that is a little bit, can take the tension off of the good bad, because that creates a tension that we can use to get stronger. But I almost sometimes think if you have like a little bit of an ease from something that is not in that zone, to give both of those support, then I think we can get playful as we go to work, sincere and intense, but playful as we go to work, improving, and creative as we continue.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. Like, I think it's because I think that makes your appreciation of just like your daily process rise as well. Like you're more in the moment, which that is just great in itself. And it just helps you notice like the moment to moment things that are happening.
Yeah.
Instead of being, because I think it is smart. Like Kivel, like you said, like end goal, focus on that and go. But it's also like right here too. It's also, hey, the sun's shining. It's a beautiful day, you know? And I do have these little things to work on my way. But I do agree with you. Like lock your eyes in and go, and also enjoy the moment. It's tough. It is very tough. And it's a practice thing, isn't it, Frank?
Yeah, I think it's a practice thing, and it's also like there's something in yoga where they talk about the two wings of practice, and again, I'm not even going to try to butcher the words, and I'm sorry for not knowing them, but it's a nice reminder to get back and refamiliarize with them. But there's
Yeah.
two wings of the bird of practice, right? And there's the diligent, hard, disciplined work, consistency, all that. And then on the other side is surrender. And this is how I understand it. If you're interested, we can figure it out. I suggest you check it out for themselves and find their own kind of way to hear it. But that balance of diligent work and also sometimes surrendering, it's a similar thing, a balance of this goal that we're heading towards, but then also realizing that one step in that direction or even a little bit off or even a little back, if I take a step back, but I still am in tune with that direction, that's not actually a step back. It's just a different dance step. So I think that's where it's up to us to feel out how these things kind of play and map over each other. Yeah. And I think that's when it becomes a real art, where it's like, there's not going to be one way. There's not even going to be one way for any of us. It's like, what's today going to bring? Here's my direction. It's like the art, you still need a canvas, mm-hmm. Like there's a framework of this stuff, and that's where the chaos plays with the order, and we have some kind of flow. When it's contained into something, then you can be free with how you want to play with it. I think that's true with how we mentally go through our game, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, the whole thing.
Yeah. You can't have one without the other either. So I think TJ and Frank just made a great point, where it's like, we're not trying to get like good and bad result, win or loss. But we do need to have some of that because we got to be goal oriented. But if you don't ever come back to the moment, then your good and bad, win or loss, that's when you get emotionally attached to it and you go too far down one side of it. So mm-hmm. It's like you got to have a little bit of everything there. And I think if a player can kind of figure out which one he's missing, whether I'm just focusing on the good, or I'm just focusing on the bad, or I'm just focusing on the end goal, or I'm just focusing on the moment. You have to have all, because you can't have one without the other. But if you can touch each point at the right time for you, then you can continue to go forward or backwards, or just be content with your process and what you choose to do. That's how I kind of perceive or, conceptualize what you guys are saying. But this is helping me a lot, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I also there was another thing that someone showed me. I forget the app, what it was called. Frank, I think I told you about this when you were still with the Reds. It was just some app that it just had like daily check-ins, and it was like, what's your emotional level? Like, are you super emotional right now? Are you not super emotional right now? Like, what are you feeling? And it helped me recognize that like emotions are just like a part of me that helps me navigate what I want in life. Say I want to go to the store and, I want to buy some new headphones, and, for whatever reason, my wife says no, and I get upset about it. I cannot buy headphones. Why am I upset? Well, because I want headphones. I think that was a really bad example, so we'll move on to a different example.
I want to hear more about these headphones. How come your wife hates headphones? What's her deal?
She actually let me buy the headphones, but
I actually, now that I think about it, I'm on your wife's team here. Why are you wearing headphones when you're with your wife? You guys should be hanging out.
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. So for me, it was mostly about like my adversity in AAA. When I got to AAA, I had like a 9 ERA, and I was super upset about it. And this app helped me realize like, the reason I'm upset about it is because I want to be successful. But then I had to kind of boil it down more. It's like, why do I want to be successful? And I was like, well, I want to provide for my family, and I want to make money, and I want, so like you start boiling it down to like what your true why is. And then you recognize that your emotions are just there to kind of assist you. But you have to kind of regulate them. That was what we said in the beginning. You can't let your highs be your super highs and your lows be your super lows. Just understand the emotion's going to be there. Okay, yeah, I just went out there and I threw 40 pitches in the first inning. I got pulled. I'm not happy, but that's okay. Like, I'm just going to like feel this for a second, understand that my emotion's there to help me not be that bad. And I'm going to go out there next time and try and do better. And I'm going to learn from this and move on.
Turn the page.
Or I just threw a perfect game. Yeah. Frank would say that to me all the time. Like, no matter if I did good or bad, he would say, turn the page. And I'd be like, sick. All right. Frank, you've worked with like you worked with a ton of professional athletes. And I know there was, like you said, not every single person's the same, but are there some trends for like that of the guys that you've seen that have made it to the big leagues that you've known really well, that some things that they do to help them on the mental side to avoid those really deep ditches and avoid those really high highs?
Yeah, that's a hard one for me. Can I say something about the other thing first and then about what you were saying before. Is there a couple things that I like that I wanted to play with? And then I'll try to get back into that one because I think that's a good question and it's important. It's an important one to explore, and I don't know if I have an answer for it, but I'd like to, if we bounce that around, and I think it's a good one really for anyone to really continue to question. I think that's kind of the coolest part of that question because, and I'll get into I'll do it now. I think there's a surface of what the big leagues is, and then there's also what the big leagues is. And I think that there are a lot of guys that I've come across who didn't get to the big leagues on the surface, but who were big leaguers. As I saw the traits compared to coaches that I got to learn with and other players who got there who I got to learn with and players I got to play with, like if that makes sense. So that's why it's a tough one, but I think it is really important to explore and to be aware of. And I think it's also probably a fluid answer, but I'll get back to that in a second. You brought up the app that I remember you telling me about, and honest, and like part of me thinks maybe I remember the conversation. Like you were talking about RJ Alanis, and he was talking, and you guys were talking about meditation, which was cool because I hadn't met him yet, and then got to meet him about a year or two later, and that's an all-time dude right there. But it's funny that what you were explaining that app gave you. I was actually, and this may be for parents or something, but like the kids do that. A young kid who asks, why? Why? Well, because of why? Well, because of this. Why that? What would you be? And eventually, like the kid's curiosity eventually will tap out the adult because there's stuff we don't know. And that exploring the way that you described that, exploring your own emotions, I think is so beautiful, especially when it's anchored from a place of being loving to yourself and being patient with yourself. And that's some stuff that I'm learning and relearning and forgetting and being a jerk to myself and like I think that keeps going. But I think that and then one more thing I wanted to say was we've been lucky enough to play a team sport, and a team sport that has a big reliance on the individual. You're on the mound alone. You got us behind you, but you're on the mound alone, or you got the catcher in front of you. And then if I'm digging in against you, it's me in that box. It's me. And I got to flow with what's going on. I have buddies who are helping in some interesting ways on the base paths or coming up behind me. Like there are all these cool dynamics of that whole context. But it is that weird thing where I'm all alone here and I got my guys, my team. And the only reason I bring that up, other than that's fun for me and I like that, is because I've thought of emotions in a similar way. What if our emotions are like teammates, and like you were saying, they have a valuable role and a valuable purpose in what we're doing as not livers, but like as living beings. Maybe there's something there too. I don't know if someone smarter than me can figure that out. But they're our teammates. They got a role, and they are part of the team. I don't care who you are. If you become bigger than the team, the gravity gets shifted. And so with the emotions, whether it's emotions we want or emotions we don't want, similar to what we were talking about earlier, success and failures, the range of them, they're all teammates and they all got a role. And it's almost like if we're our coach, our own coach, how do we notice what team we got, which emotions show up, which ones don't too much, but when they do, we got to listen. And like, how do we put these emotions, feelings, things that usually the world only wants to see a few of them, and we might only want to see a few of them. How do we give them a role that helps our team have an enjoyable game? And when we have an enjoyable game, you guys have seen it, man. You're not always going to win when your team has fun. But when your team has fun, it puts you in a good spot to win, especially when that fun is anchored by the important parts of the game. So those were some things that I wanted to touch on from what Tejay was saying. And I think there might be some of that applies to the question that I got thrown off on. Is like, who knows how to put their team together best?
Yeah,
who is
perfect.
We're all GMs, dude, and we're trying to put together our team. And
there's no answer though.
No, and it's fluid for the day. It's fluid for the season. It's different when you're coming back from an injury. It's different when you're tired. It's different when you're fresh. Who's going to play now? If I'm personally fueled by, I can be fueled by my self-doubt. I have been. I have a lot of it, and I can be fueled by that. But what if I'm feeling fresh and really good, and it's not there, and I need that? All right, well, it's on the bench that day. Like, who's playing, who is active, and who can I use, and what's the best way we can all work together to win?
What emotion do you need to access to have success in that moment?
Yeah, to put yourself in that position, like something. I mean, I remember Barry Larkin saying it a lot, but and I also think a lot of other people said it too. But he's the name that came to mind. But like talking about how do I put myself in the best position to make a play? I think Eric Davis would talk about it too. Corky said in his own way. Braggy said it. Tom, like all the dudes we got to hang with would say it in different ways. But it's like I'm just trying to put myself in the best position I can to allow a play to happen how I might want it to happen. And then I roll with what happened, and then I come back and go again. Yeah. And like you said, dude, Jeremy, like, what do I got today? How do I go? And I think that's what happens in bullpens. What do I got today? Where's my feel? Which pitch can I work off of? If you try to anchor with, I always work off of this pitch and that pitch isn't there, then you can't work off your fastball that day.
Then you get upset at yourself.
And then
it's a bad bullpen. Yep.
And instead of what could be seen as a bad bullpen, what really happened? That was a braggy one. What happened? Yeah. It's like, yeah, what happened? That's really it. You take it's almost like the emotions. Hey man, you guys go get water. You emotions, go get water for a second. Let's go see what actually happened. Changeup was down. Fastball was going arm side. Not, didn't know where my fastball was going. Didn't know where my changeup was going. I suck. I don't know what to do. All I have is this. I'm screwed. It's like that happens, dude, and it's funny. And if we could laugh at that, sometimes the laughter is what shakes us out to be like, oh, where was the fastball missing? Arm side. Cool. Yeah. Where was the changeup missing? Oh, I was pushing it. It was down. I don't know. And then you start getting your own clear answers, which I think ties a lot of the stuff we've said, where it's like, can you, the guys who I've seen who've had peace of mind and have maximized what they've gotten, which I think might be my view of the big leagues, are the guys that are brave enough to look at where they might be any given day and learn how to work with that and add to it the ones who could also see how to blend who they are and what they wanted to do with what the team was doing, not because it sounded good and because people talk about being a good teammate, but because they actually eventually learned that, like, oh, that helps me. I don't have to do it alone. I got my bullpen that's going to clean it up if I could just get 5. And then those days where you can go 9, get it. You're helping them by your ego shining, by giving the bullpen a break. I want to drive those runs in. But if I don't, my buddy's got my back, and then that eases me. And then I can go try to make a play, or I could go be on time for the next play. And if I can, and then I'll there was something else that reminded me of, which was the things that we can't control. For example, with you guys, especially run support is a funny one. Tejay said it early. You can't control your buddy hitting the tank that day and giving you, keeping you guys in the game. But what if we could be playful about ways that we could affect it? And that's where, like if you're a starter and you're on your 3rd day and you don't have to do anything, or you just ran and you threw or whatever, and you're in the, like, what if getting pumped about the runs that your guys are scoring that day actually is a way to earn run support? Because they're going to, it's energy, man. And if you bring the energy when it's not about you, because it's fun, because you want them to do well, or even if it's motivated by your own self to be like, no, this is going to get me runs. The team helps the individual helps the team, no matter what the motivation is. And so if you could be playful with how to handle those uncontrollables also, and be aware of what you can control and what you can't. I think that's another thing that gets to the peace of mind aspect. And I think that playfulness and that peace of mind and ability to go and do what you got to do with a laser, with a focus and a concentration. I think those are some things that I've seen stand some people apart. But
I think biggest thing for me, kind of relating that to being a coach now, and just, it's funny, like guys get up in the bullpen, right? It's like, oh, like you have a bullpen a day. It's like, all right, cool. And it's like, they miss like 6 times arm side with a fastball. And I'm like, great. That's awesome. And they're like, what? Like, they're all like, I suck. Like, I can see it in their eyes. I'm like, just throw it outside, throw it on the other side of the plate. And it's like, boom, right down the middle. And they're like, oh. I'm like, I feel like Tom Brown. I'm not going to lie. But it's like, but that's all it was. Like, cause I was a guy who struggled with command, like off and on. Like I'm like dotting or I'm like walking through guys and like good luck. And a lot of it was like miss high. It's like, oh, here we go. I suck. Instead of just saying like, okay, well, like that was a pretty firm high fastball. Let me just throw it a little bit lower. Oh, I couldn't do it. Okay, let me throw it 6 inches lower. Oh, now I'm in the strike zone. Okay, let's throw a curveball. It's like whenever I was able to get there, for anyone who struggles with the same stuff that I struggle with, it was easy. And guess what? I had more good games than bad games at that point, but like I still had bad games. But it's like, can you get in the bullpen and suck and be like, who? It's like my curveball sucks today. It's like, all right, cool. Let's throw fastballs, like or whatever it is for you. But it's so funny that I see that now. Like I see a player throw 2 fastballs and he misses, and it's like not even close. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like you missed high. It's like who can throw it lower? Like it doesn't matter. Just take it for what it is, move on and make an adjustment, whatever you want to call it. But just be okay.
Yeah, or work off of it, right? Like if you know what happened, you can also play with like, all right, I missed there. What pitch do I have that can go from that slot and mess with them? I mean, we got all the Rapsodo, we got all the data and all the videos and stuff. It's like that's a way that can be really useful where it's like, all right, what if this pitch is missing, what can I work off of it? Because then you're setting yourself up for more success using all that.
Yes.
You know,
something that DJ always tells us is like the hitter didn't know you missed your spot. Nice. Unless it's just like outrageous, like you threw it to the backstop or something. But the hitter doesn't know you missed your spot. So don't show emotion to let him know that you missed your spot.
I love that.
Like you should act like you tried to do that. Like say you're trying to go down and away and you go up and into him.
Yeah, buddy.
Like, okay, use it. Yeah. Like that. You meant to go up and in on this guy. Now we're going like breaking ball off of it. Yeah. And I think that's so you can literally use that for the mental side of the game. Like I meant to do that. That's what I meant to do. Now I'm just going to use it to my advantage. And it was a disadvantage and now it's an advantage to me.
Yeah. And there's a bit to it. If you don't mind me nitpicking that I remember that idea of like, we got to be honest with ourselves. Like lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. Lie to them, but don't lie to yourself. So like, I meant to do that is a little bit different than how can I use that? So they can think you meant to do it, but you know what happened. And so I know what happened. I might not know exactly how it happened or why it happened or what caused it, but I know what happened. And if I know what happened, then I can have the calm, which looks like you meant to do it. And then in that calm, I can decide how I want to work with it. Either dot another fastball in a different spot with that adjustment that Jeremy was talking about, or work off of it. And it's funny you brought up the backstop because I do remember playing with the Fightin' Dayton Dragons. Go Dragons. And I remember there was a game, dude. I don't remember who we were playing or who it was against, where it was some guy who was supposed to be was nasty, and just shoved. But I remember facing him, and he threw a pitch, like dotted it. And I didn't see it, but I took it. And I took it in a way that probably looked like I was seeing it well, but I didn't see it. And the umpire calls it a ball. So I step back and I remember, like, part of me's thinking Lake County right now, but it could be off. But I remember stepping out and being like, in my head, I'm like, I didn't see that. Thankfully I got a ball. But this dude who was really good got the ball back. And he's all mad because he didn't get the call he needed. And I get it, dude. We want that. And he's still great. Became great. I'm not taking anything away from him. And I was too clueless. It's not like I did this on purpose. But I remember when he got it back and he was mad, I felt more at ease. And I remember being like, he's pissed. He's frustrated. He's
going to make a mistake.
Yeah, and he did exactly what he wanted to do and probably even fooled the umpire and made the pitch he wanted, got me, but he was still frustrated. He let the external kind of get to him. And whether or not he could come back and dot the next pitch, I felt more at ease. And in that dance, I have an advantage compared to plenty of other guys who might not have appeared to be great. I remember another guy soon after that, because I started seeing the game in some different ways, throws it to the backstop, gets it back all calm, and gets right back up. And I remember thinking, like, what just happened? Like, whether or not he did it on purpose, like you're saying, TJ, it's hard to pretend like that was on purpose. But if you get it back calmly and you're there as if it's like once the moment's passed,
Scary.
my mind's going too. So there's a part of like, I don't know where it's going. Does he know where it's going? You get going. And so like, that's sort of the competitive, like the funny little back and forth where it's like, I think even that one, what you were saying, DJ was saying, and what we're all playing with, I think like even on the backstop to have that kind of composure moving into the next one ends up giving you that advantage.
I think
it's impressive.
That's the game though, right?
It's wild.
Like my last question here before we wrap this up was like, what are some direct applications? There really is none. You have to go about your process. I think the biggest thing is for people to be aware for that battle that you have with your emotions. You got the good and the bad, you got the goal, and you have the present moment. The best in the game or life, like in general, like game, baseball, basketball, it's all the same. Fighting, guy gets emotional, comes after you, you can counter him. Like it's a game that you're playing with your emotions, and you have to figure out which emotion you have more of and use the other one more. Probably that's probably like some good application. Like if you're missing one, you probably don't have the other, and if you don't have the other, you probably got all of this. So I think that is 1 second, Frank. I think that is the answer to that last question for the players that are trying to become better on this side of the game. It's really like learning how to balance all those different aspects, but there's no like, hey, step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4, because every step is different for every person. You have to figure out what it is. And like, hey, the things that I was not good in the game of baseball are the same things that I'm not good in life, like my processes. So like it doesn't stop. Like it's like, oh, I didn't play Major League Baseball for 20 years. It's like, okay, it's all right, because you're going to go through the same exact process with whatever else you're doing in your life. So I think that should give some people some hope. Like, just keep improving, and you're going to get to where you want to go.
Frank, any last words?
Yeah, just to the tune of what Jeremy was saying. Like, you remember when we were talking about the opposites? I think that's a fun, like, kind of actionable way that people can play with it, is like whatever emotion you might not like, if you notice it keep coming up, to just like try to think about what the opposite is for you. And if you're aware of the opposite of it, then it's not that far off. And just noticing slows it down. Seeing it stops the momentum of it. It doesn't change it. You're not trying to rigidly change it, but it's like, oh, I'm bummed, I'm mad, whatever it might be. It's like, all right, well, what's the opposite of that? And then if I know the opposite of it, they kind of it helps us learn to regulate it and drive it. And if I can, something that is weird, but it came up, and so I want to throw it at you guys because you invited me here, is it reminds me of curling. You see the dudes on the Winter Olympics, the curlers, and then they're and I don't even know what they're doing, man. I don't know if what they're scooting is drawing it that way or it's drawing it away. Like, I don't know. Probably would want to look into it, but that's kind of what we're doing with ourselves.
Great. I love that.
Here it goes. And then you got some other people trying to weasel it to get into one spot, and then it's there and it's not where you wanted it to be, but maybe that becomes a defender from the next guy to get, so that was fun.
That's a sick analogy.
I was put out there because thanks. Alternate sports, man. I think those are fun. And then I do think one more thing to the tune of like, Jeremy, what was the second, Kivel, the second question? Could you just word it one more time so I can hear it? Because there's something I think that
what were some common trends that players use in their thought process that positively affect performance?
Yeah. And that was, thanks, because something that I learned from yoga, but it was like it clicked from yoga. I learned it from baseball, and it clicked from doing yoga, was like, and meditation. I mean, we've talked about it, but the ability to feel what you're feeling and realize, like, sometimes it's not the thought that changes. We're not ready for that battle yet. Sometimes it's just how we hold ourselves. And so to the tune of that pitcher, throwing it to the backstop and getting it back easily, calmly, without tension. There are physical things that can sometimes be the momentum shift that we need, whether it's feeling a high breath and actually just imagining it be lower and wider as opposed to up, down, shallow, or just thinking, like those sorts of things are like, I'm going to take a swing. I missed it. I'm mad. He made a bad call. I'm getting yelled at by so-and-so, whoever, fan, parent, who knows, coach. Can I hear all that and still wait just a moment before I let myself go there? Because if I can step off the rubber and let it process there, and then I'm back on clear, or if I can step out of the box That's Jimmy's dad, and he always gets mad. That's, like, it's not me. That's Jimmy's dad. What do I got to do? I got to get a pitch I can handle and try to get a knock. Or, get a pitch I can handle and put a swing on it, or make a pitch, whatever it is. If I can get used to giving myself a pause, that can actually expand our control over these things. And so it starts,
you're aware.
Yes. And it can start with one breath. So whether you're 5 years old or you're a 20-year big leaguer, I don't care. You're the one that has your relationship with the game. You're the one who's doing it. You're the one who's competing, who's doing all this stuff. The sooner and the more often we can be amazed at our own ability to navigate ourselves, to be our own coach, which also means that we're going to be our own student, which also means why it's so important to pass along the info, to share it, to try to teach even while you're playing, because then you get the zoomed out perspective that Jeremy was talking about, revisiting and being like, oh, I remember being here. You can't do it when you're in it, but one breath can pause it. And so in one breath, TJ's taking a pause right now. Probably not the pause that you wanted to take, right? But you're here, and those injuries end up like that's where the pauses or the injuries or the hiccups or the speed bumps or the gut punches that the game and life gives us, they give us a chance to pause. They give us a chance to shift a perspective. And then we can come back in fresh. And I think that can show up whether you're 5, a big league or whatever, in a moment, whether you're hitting, pitching, base running, coaching, anything.
Yeah.
If I can take one breath, I can do them all.
Frank.
Yeah.
I think, how about, what is Bruce Lee's most famous quote?
That's a trap question. That is a trap question. Ask it differently.
What is Bruce Lee's most famous quote that relates to everything that we just talked about?
Be water, my friend.
Be like water, my friend.
Because I was also thinking of the scene in Enter the Dragon where he points to the moon. He says, "Don't look at the finger. You miss all the heavenly glory," which is another good one.
That is a good.
Hoping that one gets hot soon.
So players, be like water. Learn how to navigate and manage your emotions that you receive from the game. You can't have one without the other. Keep your eyes on the prize, but also stay in the moment. Take the good and the bad for what it is, and continue to just improve as a person in general.
Kivel, close us out. Let's hear it.
Close us out. Well, I am a closer, so I'm used to this. Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly how I wanted to close that out. The main goal behind this podcast was for people to benefit from it, because I've seen kids in the building at Kova, and I've seen it in my career where there's some things that hold some players back, that hold me back in general from getting stuck in a certain emotional state, or just not knowing how to navigate your successes and your failures. If you can start that process now as a 14, 15, 16-year-old baseball player, you're going to set yourself up for success in the future. So I hope somebody watches this podcast and it positively affects their life. That's how I want to close this out.
Yep. And not just success on the baseball field too, in life as well. So guys, don't forget to like and subscribe this video, or share with us with your friends if you're enjoying it. Also ask us questions, like shoot us DMs, comments on the YouTube videos. Just let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Check out our link tree. We have a lot of free content on there, and come see us at the gym. If you're in Texas, come see us. We want to train with you. So Frank, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful talking with you and just dissecting the game. So thank you so much again.
Frank.
See you guys.
Thank you too. Love you guys. And I really appreciate the example you both are in terms of how you're sharing what you're learning, and, while you are in your different parts of your paths, man, it's really cool and inspiring, and I admire how you do it and how you've done it all the ways up to this point. So thank you.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Later.